Howdy, howdy. This is the 17th episode of You Can't Do That on Salesforce. I think that's kind of rad. And we're building Monopoly. Still. I got a haircut. You guys can tell. All right. Where were we? Let's see. During our last episode, we worked on the board. And we got a board that looks like a board, but had to do some pretty crazy stuff to make it look the way that we needed it to. Some CSS madness that I know I'm not very good at, but it kind of worked. We can bring it up and take a look. And I was just thinking to myself, what should we do with this today? And I think I do want to revisit the board and maybe try to find a more robust way to build it so that it's not quite as janky. I don't know what the right word is, but it's a pretty janky thing that that has to be put together here. But let's take a look at one. So it works, kind of. Actually, it works just fine, but I can't seem to figure out how to simplify this and really how to control it. That's the whole problem. How to control it within the page is like just beyond the bounds of my my skills, which are, I used to be a web designer guy, but that was back in the Stone Age of tables and spacer gifs. So I am definitely outgunned in the CSS department. But I mean, it looks like something, right? It's a thing. It's a board. It's scaled and fits on the page, but it's like this is all just shoestring and bubble gum, people. There's not a lot of sophistication here. I think we got to go back to the well and try this different. I had a thought about maybe like build it. I was talking last week about building it with with Canvas. And by Canvas I mean like JavaScript Canvas, not Salesforce Canvas. And I suppose that could be an option, but I was then just kind of trying to think more simply, like, is it really just a grid, right? And the complexity around the grid is just like some of these things I have to flip upside down to make them look the way that we need them to. So it could, cause if I look at this, if I think about the negative space in the middle of the board, there's squares here. They're empty squares that are like, equal to the width of one of the board pieces, not one of the corners. And we have 4 exceptions to make on the corners. And then we have some spinning and flipping to do. And maybe we can get by just by saying like, what's our top left starting point, and just read left to right and go across until we get to our bottom. And there's probably some algorithm here, right, that says if you start at, let's see, free parking, I think that's position 20. So what's my starting position? 20. I go all the way to 30. That's one row. And then I start 31. Or no, I'm sorry. Then I count backwards and forwards from there. So then I'm 19, 31, 18, 32, 17, 33, 16, 34, 15, 35, 14, 36, 13, 37, 12, 38, 11, 39, 10. Then I'm counting backwards at the bottom. Now I'm curious if that does that hold up if I pick any given corner to start within the top left, right? So if I did 30, I'm gonna tilt my head sideways to look at this properly. If I did 30 going up to, well, 0, right? 29, 1, 28, 2. I think there's an algorithm here that we can do. And then in between it's just like, you know, like again here 20. So here's 19, nothing, 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 nothing for 10, 31. When we get to the end, we have to say, hey, what's, these, this is upside down. The first row is always upside down, except for maybe the last one, which is turned sideways, but we can figure that out. These are turned on their sides, and the last row that you process is on the top, again, except jail, maybe we turn. So I'm thinking about that, and that might be another way that we can build this that honestly just doesn't feel like the janktastic jankitude that I was janking around with here last week. That looked like, where are you? That looked like this. I'm sorry, that was the board. Yeah, that looked like this. It's not a lot. It's not super. It looks simple from here, but the end result is just, it's a lot more. It's deceiving, right? Because then I have to go back and correct the placement and all this other stuff. So I think I've talked myself into it. We can build this board to be a little more robust, and also I think we can have the added side effect of saying, well, how do you want it to render, right? What do you want in the top left corner? So we can essentially like rotate the board that way. I don't know if that's going to matter, but I think this will be an exercise in a little bit of, kind of looping and algorithm building to see what we can do here. So stretch fingers and let's get to work. Let's get to work by undoing some stuff that we started with. This is our board. Pretty simple layout. So I think what we need to be able to tell the board is what is what's top left, basically. What's the starting corner, right? Because again, if you look at our, let's open up properties. Every property has like an address. It has a sequence where it appears on the board. Position. Sorry, that's the word we're looking for. It starts at 0. Every corner is a multiple of 10. So we could indicate what we want to start with in top left. So maybe that's the first thing that we need to be able to tell our board. Ultimately, we'll make this a property, but let's say starting position. By default, it's 20, right? It's free parking. I always think of a Monopoly board as go at the bottom right, for whatever reason. I guess I don't know why I have that like burned into my brain, but that's how I always picture a Monopoly board starting. So opposite of that, top left, is free parking, which is 20. So there's our starting position. This is going to do everything that it already does. It needs to load the properties. We've got this game properties by side thing going on, which is, I don't think that's a data structure that we need anymore. I think what we need is, I think what we really need is to just start counting from 20 across and pass some parameters into. We pass the property into another component, another Lightning Web component. We can tell that property basically, if we can tell it where it is, we can tell how it needs to render itself, right? And maybe we do some of that in our data structure that we're about to build, because we are gonna we're going to do something similar. We got all of our game properties out. So there's the raw data. What we were doing before was creating a new data structure called game properties by side and building that the way that we, to fit a structure that we wanted to iterate over. So let's do something similar. And we'll say, let's see. That way we can really just kind of spoon feed the data that we want to render the way that we want it to. So let's say game properties. I'll call it game properties grid. Right, and we know our starting position. We'll make this configurable, and at some point, I'm going to take this stuff out and try to block it out of my memory. It's so crazy. Okay, so once we get our game properties back, we want to start from the index that that's our starting position, right? So top left, read across, rows, bottom, left to right. So let's see, we're going to say we really want to, we have to also go around the horn here. So we're going to get to 39 and then back to 0. So we have to evaluate the length of this and then move our index back around to 0 once we get to go. Try to do that dynamically as well. So let's see, we got our game properties, and then we're going to start counting. So I think I would say do stuff. Let's let current property equal this dot game properties dot. Let's do this. I'm going to take starting position. We want to make it a parameter at some point, but let's let index prop index equal this dot starting position. Okay. I'm going to increment this over time. So the current property is prop index that we got back. Now these are in order, right? So the first property in this array is go, because that's position 0. I'm going to fast forward to position 20, which should be free parking. We might be off by 1 here. We may have to add or subtract 1, just depending on how the index's addressing stuff works out. So hypothetically, this is in the first iteration of this is free parking. Okay. So I'm going to, let's make this dot game properties grid. This is a new array. There's some gridness to this. So we also want to have, how many things across is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there should be 9 in between. Yep. All right. So it's 11 across. I'm imagining imaginary empty boxes in between here, which could play out for us in the future where we have, I don't know, a community chest spot and a logo spot or whatever, but we're not gonna worry about that just yet. So it's 11 across. So let's say I think we want property index and we want row index, right? So let row index equal 0. All right. So every time row index is 0, we're going to add a new row. So if it's going to need to persist across the each instance. So let's make a game properties grid row. Okay. define that yet. Okay, so if row index is 0, then we'll make game properties grid row a new array. Okay, and then we'll put. So I want to create a little more data structure around each of these properties. So I'm going to say let let's call it grid prop equal something. And then let's see, row. This is actually, we need a column index too, now that I'm thinking about it. Right, so call index. It's really column index that we want to drive. Right? No, rows drive. We need a new thing, and then the column index is what we're going to iterate across, because column index is going to, we'll be able to tell based on what row we're on and what column we're on, what command do we need to, what transform command do we need to pass to our component to say, yo, flip sideways, flip upside down, whatever. We're going to have to do that. That's as much CSS transform as I want to do in this layout, and I hope that we can still preserve the structure that comes along with that, because I think that was one of the hardest parts of using the transforms before, is like, what just happened? You know, you're breaking out of the grid definitions as CSS knows them. So okay, looping over our properties, got my starting position, current property equals the property index, and my column index, I'm just getting started, so my column index is 0 and my row index is 0, so I'm top left. So I want to create these grid properties, which we're gonna create a property. So meta. This is going to be current property, and then we need to tell it how to render, basically how to transform. Right. So let's say let's let the dog out for the 10th time. He wants to hang out, then he doesn't want to hang out. He wants to hang out, then he doesn't want to hang out. Let's say grid prop dot transform. And maybe we also want to say grid prop dot height equals something. Grid prop dot width equals something. And transform equals something. Maybe it's rotate. Let's do that. We'll say grid prop dot rotate, and I think that's it. I think. Sorry, just checking. Why is my phone making noises? Okay. Phone is done making noises. Height, width, rotation. I think those are the three things that we need to tell our property board spaces when we're looping over them. That's what we're looping over, right? Wait, that's a board space. The board, yeah, assigns a record, which we've got. We can pass a height. We don't have these now, but we'll expose properties to pass a height, a width, and a rotate to these, and I think we'll be good. Okay. So if we are, so we got some rules to deal with, right? If if prop index, right? If prop index mod 10 equals 0, then we're on a corner, right? It's a corner. So grid prop dot width, or height and width is a square, and I think it's 250. We'll see. All right, and so that takes care of all four corners. They're going to be bigger. I think we can put a else on this. Let's see, else if prop index well, let's see. So this is where it gets interesting. All of my property cards or steps, like they're all this size, right? They're whatever, 200 by 250. I'm going to define that. I'd like to pass it in. I think we should pass it in so that we can make it more flexible. But I can't recall if we have to, is this is 200 by 250 flipped upside down. This is 200 by 250. Sorry, I'm pointing at stuff that you all maybe can't see. This is 200 by 250 not rotated. And these are 200 by 250 rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise or counterclockwise. How that translates into the transformation, I'm not sure. So let's take the lazy easy path and say it's just going to work. And then we can come back because if that's what I want to be able to, the simplest path is otherwise, right? Then the width is 200. And really, all of these have a height of 250. So we can probably put that up here. That's a lie. They're not all. They're not all two. Hold on. The edges, yes, right. But I think what we're really looking for is if it's if the row index is 0. Else if, hey, the dog's back. Come on. And here we are. If the row index is 0, everything's 250 by 200. Right? If the row index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If the row index is 10. Oops, where am I? Or the row index is 10. Top or the bottom. We're doing this. Probably what I should do is say the width is, now I'm thinking about the squares in the middle, right? Thinking about these that I want to render. Hey, guess what, guys? The dog's going to get ready to leave again in a second. And the width is 200. And the height is 200. That's like my default. Okay. If it's a corner, we're going to go 250 by 250. If it's a side, we want to, we can make this a little simpler. We want to adjust the height. If it's the top or the bottom, right? And really, it's the row height is 0 or 10, or the column height, right, is 0 or 10. Okay, so far so good. in those cases, first row, first column, last column, make the height 250. Hope that our transforms do the other magic for us. Oh, then we got to talk about rotate, right? So if the, let's see. So this is height and width conditions, right? Height and width. And then down here, we'll talk about rotation. Rotate. So if row index is 0, then grid prop dot rotate is 180. Flip it upside down. Else if column index is 0, then I think we're rotating 90, assuming this is clockwise. I can't remember. And then if the column index is 10, the other side, I think we can say rotate negative 90. So that would be counterclockwise. Okay. I think we're good. And then maybe what we want also is a type here too, right? So the type is either, I'm going to make the type just space. In all these other cases, it's really, let's see. It's these, right? These are what we've singled out. The type is, or let's say type is blank, right? That's the blank space, and then we'll call these space. Okay. So a little data structure to suit our needs here. Gives us enough flexibility to start with. We need that here. If we're adjusting the height, then it's a space. If we're not adjusting the height, then it's a blank. And I think if we're adjusting the height, we are potentially adjusting the rotation. So I don't need to add that logic in here. Okay. Okay. Phone is making noise again. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, just a quick check of what's going on here. Okay. Sorry, phone. Bleh. Okay, we should have. All right, now we're good. Now we just got to enter it. We got a loop, right? So we do all this. We get to. So I'm processing from 20. I want to get over to 30 when the when this is really when call index equals 0, right? Because we're gonna be updating that, and then row. We might not even need a row index. Now that no, we do want a row index because we need to decide, make some decisions. Okay, so we grab one of these, we add it to our game properties grid row. So let's push that in there. Okay. And then we, let's see, we need to increment column index, right? We need to increment plus if call index is greater than 10, then we're on to a new row, right? Row index plus plus, call index, down a row, back to the first column, call index is 0. Okay. So if I'm going from column 1 to column 2, oh, and then we also have to increment our prop index, right? I'm going to start with that because that's like I need to do this, and then if prop IDX is greater than, I think 39. Let's look at our properties here a second. View all. Boardwalk is our, yep, that's 39. So if it's greater than 39, then we need to set prop index back to 0. And then we have to say, we're going to do this, so this is going to be funky, while it's I think it's just while it doesn't, while prop index does not equal starting position. Does that work? Because we're setting it up here. Prop index equals starting position, so 20. Then I get down here, then it's 21. So then I evaluate and know you're not 20 anymore. So then I get to 19 and I add 1 and I'm at 20. And I say, oh, now you're 20 and now we're done. So I think, oh, we need to do one more thing. If we're at the end of a row, then we need to push the grid row onto the grid. This dot game properties grid, push game properties grid row. All right, so we're building ourselves a table. I think we've got everything we need in that little structure that we've put together. Probably some things we could do a little bit more elegantly, but I'm okay with that. Let's see how we did. This is all running. This probably should have been its own function, but I'll move it at some point. But we should have a populated game properties grid when we're done with all this. And I think what we can do simply to start is, let's not even render this down to the spaces. Let's just have it write out the stuff that it thinks it needs to do. So back up to the board. All right, we're going to iterate. If we have grid properties grid, or game properties grid, sorry. I'm not going to do a lot of mumbo jumbo. See all this transform stuff? Blech. Did not like that. Okay. So for each game properties grid, we'll call that a row. Let's make that a div of its own. We may need to, I don't know if we're going to need to style it or not. But we'll just use the index of the row to define that, and then we're looping over row dot. The row itself is an array, I think, right? Yeah, so we got the row. We know the index, I think, of that row in its parent array. And then that row is an array, so I'm just going to loop over that. And let's call this, column. The column has an index in its array, so we'll use that as the key. And I'm eventually going to use property board space, but for right now, I just want to write this stuff out and see how we're doing. And we may need to apply a little gridness to this, but for right now, yeah, we'll start and stop here, and let's just say call dot height, call dot width, and call dot rotate. And call dot type. Okay. So bye-bye grid as we knew it. This isn't going to look right to start because our divs are going to probably break lines and not go side by side. I feel like we can maybe just use some SLDS grid mojo to make this render the way we want it to. So let's prepare for ugly. My scratch org is winter 23 now. Lots of groovy new features. Okay. Kind of funny that extra space started getting dropped in there. Oh, because there's no rotate, right? Probably should set the rotate to 0 just so we can be consistent. Do that here. Okay. I like this a lot better than last week so far. We're going to see how these transforms actually play. And then if I look at SLDS grid, my grid is 11. I just lost my... Oh, I got a screenshot here from last week. Where'd you go? This was last week's board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got a 11 column grid. I don't know if SLDS plays nice at 11. It would be cool if it could. 12 column support. You can have up to 12. What if I only want 11? Is it cool with that? I don't know if I can say 1 of 11, right? I think it has to almost be like a 1 of 12 with a side order of 1. Let's see, can we do that? I don't know if I've ever... I don't think I can create... an oddly sized... Let's see. I think if I just say grid and I have 11 columns, that will work. I just may have to create a grid for each row along the way. It would be a little easier if we had, if I could just say, I want this to be an 11 column grid and then just have it wrap. That's nice, because then you can just blast through them. But I don't think it's the end of the world if we have to define a grid per row. They'll at least all be the same width. There we go. Lost Visual Studio. Okay. So this is our row. So let's say this class is SLDS grid. And then these are SLDS call. We're going to end up with 11. And then we're going to make a new grid. They should all be, the dimensions of things are going to push everything around and should make it, you know, my first and last columns are going to be wider than the rest of the grid. My first and last row are going to be taller than the rest of the grid. But I think we're going to be okay. I think that all works out just fine. Famous last words. Let's see how this looks. And then I'll let the dog out again, because, yeah, the dog wants to go out again. This is my office. Like, you know, I've got, I don't know, 2 feet of room on either side of my arms, which you obviously can't see, but that's the space that I have here. And, you know, so the door, when I say the dog is going out, it's literally like open the door over there, and out he goes. Okay, this did something. What did we do here? 250, 250, 180 space. You know what we can do? We can write the, let's write the name of the property out. After I let the dog out again. Okay. This is not enough spaces. We missed something. We're on the right track. These are all upside down. This is 90, 0. These are all blanks. That's a space. That's not a space. Oh, no. That is a space. Sorry. Space is real. Blank is... Could I use any worse words for that? Probably not. These are not right. Over here. These should be negative 90. Okay. We can probably fix that too. But yeah, it feels like we're missing a lot of stuff. So we do have the properties name, right? Yeah, right. Where are you? I'm looking at the space to see what things are called, what we render. Yeah, just dot name. Okay. So let's go back over here. This is call dot property dot name. So we'll get a little more. Let's get a little more real here, and just render what they're called, and then we can kind of evaluate from there. Okay, call.property.name. Duh. That was wrong. Did I actually set property in the board here? let's debug. Let's fling open the debugger and see what's going on here. Monopoly is by far the most complicated project on. You can't do that on Salesforce. There's a lot of logic in Monopoly. There's a lot of logic here, and there's a lot of there's a lot of logic in rendering the UI too. To you know the maybe the tricky part is like the requirements are very specific, and I'm trying to be specific when we create them. All right, let's see what's going on here. Let's see how we're doing. Let's re-render this. First things first, let's make sure that yeah, we're good. Boop. Got properties back. Is this free parking? Yep. Okay, we're starting at 20. That's good. That's good news. Oh, because these are game properties. These are game properties, not property properties. We need, just to make the property references a little bit more complicated, we have to do this. This is actually current property dot property, ta-da. Okay. Because a game has a junction called game property that lets us assign properties to games multiple times. So now we might get the name back the way we expect it. I'm going to actually just not even loop through that right now. All right, free parking. Where are you? Where's my screenshot? Yeah. Free parking, Kentucky Avenue, Chance, Indiana. That looks right. Go to jail. Okay. Next. Yeah. Right. We're just we're just blamming through our indexes, our property indexes. We shouldn't do that. We should, when we're on rows, rows 2 through 10, we're really only evaluating the left and the right for an actual property, and then we need to put spaces in. Everything's here. It's just, wrong. So, and we also have to do that kind of interesting index hocus pocus of going up and down in the counter. So I forgot about all the kind of the complexity that goes into this. So just when we thought we were doing good, it's going to get a little bit harder. I was feeling it, man. I thought, oh, we got this licked. We're going to do this super fast. No. But I still think the logic is going to work out better than the CSS madness that we had going on before. That we still got a little bit of work to do. All right, no problem. So this is still the thing, right? We need to do this no matter what. Our looping is what's a little bit more complicated. We are starting at, well, let's start. I think what we can do is let's start at Just let this play, right? So we start at 20. We do our first row. All right, when we get to call index greater than 10, we push, we move forward, and oh my gosh, this dog is ready to come in again. You're going to stay here for the rest of the show, okay? It's a good thing he's adorable. All right, so we get to the end of our first row. First row is easy. We're just counting up from wherever we were. When I move to the next row, the index that I want to process first is one less than the starting position. Then I need to render 9 spacers. And then the index that I want to process is 1 greater than the position of the last element in the first row. Whew. How are we going to do that? I said this was going to be easier. I'm probably lying. But it's fun. This is a fun thing to figure out. The thing is, we have a row index, right? So the row index is 0 and then it goes up 1. So it's kind of like the row index defines how we handle rows 0, column 0, and column 10. It's technically the 11th column. Because it's minus position from the first row plus position from second row, and then anytime we have a column that is between those two, we're just making a spacer. So can we kind of rationalize that whole thing here? It's really here, right? We shouldn't be assigning a property like right off the bat. I should only be moving the property index. So I'm going to move this out. I should only be moving the property index when I know I need to. And I should only be moving the property index when I'm in the first row, right? So if row index is 0, or row index is 10, then we always move the property index forward on the incrementer, right? And actually, I think what we could do is this can also tell us whether or not we are assigning. Sorry about the eyeball itch there, ladies and gentlemen. This can actually tell us should we be assigning the property or not. I think. Right. So I'm moving my row index forward here, right? Yep. All right. If I'm in a spot where I need to move the row index, I need to set the property before I move on to the next one. So okay, we'll do that. All right, then we move the property index forward. We do our columns and such. So then if the otherwise else if we're not in 0, we're not in 10. Or let me say that another way. If we're in 0 and 10, we're moving it every time we iterate. If we're not in either of those two, we're only moving it if we are leaving column 0 or leaving column 10. Right? So else yeah. So does this hold up? If we say, again, or call index equals 0 or call index equals 10. Let's adjust this a little bit. It's an easy increment if it's a it's an easy increment if we're in the first or last row. Why doesn't this line up? Oh boy, wrong button. There we go. It's a little more interesting if the column is also, right? I mean, yeah, we can increment the property index, but what we really need to do is if we are in is that an else? I don't really want to. I guess it can be an. Can it be an else? We get to the end of the row. Column index is 10. I do need to set the grid property. It's a little bit redundant because if we're in row 0, column 10, or row 10, column 10, I'm going to do this twice, but I think I can just step through the logic a little easier. If I'm in column 10, I'm setting the property, and I'm about to go back to 0. When I do that, if I'm going into 0, I need the property index to equal the starting position minus, or no, plus $11. No. Minus 1. Minus 1. Minus row index plus 1. So if I'm at 10, let me get my picture out. I started at 20, free parking. I'm now at 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. I'm at 30, which that's column 11. I need starting position 20 minus row index, which is 0 right now because I haven't iterated yet, plus 1. 20 minus 0 plus 1, 20 minus 1, 19. Boom. That's my next iteration. All the other magic works. Now, if I am in column 0, I'm going to get rid of this because I don't think we're. Oh, let me. We have to think about this too and see how this holds up if we were to rotate the board. But if I am in 0, column 0, and I place my property. Now my property index needs to be starting position plus 10 plus the width of the board plus row index plus 1, I think. That should work. Maybe. We'll find out. We shall find out. Phone is making noise. Okay. Okay. Sheesh. All right. I think we got it. I think. We're about to find out. I'm gonna render the type in addition to the name. How'd we do? Let us see how we did. Hmm? I think we never broke out of our. I think my loop is just like infinitely looping right now. If I had to guess. Yeah, none of this is us. I don't think we ever get out of. I don't think we ever get out of the loop now. Yeah, I think we need to. We can probably use. If I had to guess, if I went in here and put a. Yeah, see, it's just. Oh wait, no, it's not. I realize I don't think we kind of closed the loop on our do while. Or maybe we're just not getting anything because I broke something. Well, no, because that last row is going to take us to. Um, the other thing we need to do is on the last row, we need to go backwards. Yeah, we need to go 10 down to 0. Okay, so now it thinks we're done. And it's not showing me anything. Huh? Seems wrong. Where'd you go? Super weird. Why aren't we getting anything out here now? No errors, right? Oh, wait, cannot read properties of undefined reading property. Property. I guess when do we come into a condition where that is true? If our current property is. Well, I guess let's find out. There is an error. It's telling me that we have a property. We have a game property that doesn't have a property associated with it. So there's free parking. Let's get rid of that. Let's step through here and see what we got. Let's watch this current property. Excuse me. Okay, let's watch that. So it went to Pacific Avenue. Oh, I think we have to say if, in these cases, if the column index is does not equal both of these. Yeah. All right. equals 10. And row index does not equal 0, and row index does not equal 10. So we're in between. I think we do the same here, right? This is only applies to those two. Let's try that. We went right from free parking to Pacific Avenue, which is wrong. Okay, and try again. Free parking, Kentucky, Chance, Illinois, Railroad, Ventnor, Waterworks, Marvin, go to jail. Now we should be, was it New York or St. James? One of the orange ones? Nothing. Okay. That's where our error strikes. Because why? Grid prop. The current property is whatever prop index we give it. Which I think we're gonna have to do a little two-step on the break points here. I'll add another watch for that. Let's throw a prop index on here. And let's throw, whoops, current property on here. Oh, come on. Okay, hasn't been defined yet. Prop index is 20. Free parking. 21. 22. 23. Prop index stays stuck at 23. See that 20? Or maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, see 24, 24. Why? Well, let's keep an eye on it. That seems weird. We're closing in here. Atlantic. Why are you doing that twice? Ventnor. Ventnor. Am I real? Oh, wait. Right, because okay, it's evaluating. We're making two sides. Ooh, man, getting all turned around there. Waterworks. Yep, yep. Grid property is 29. Then we're Marvin Gardens. And then we're nothing. No, wait. No, wait. We're still alive. Prop index is 30. Then we'll go to jail. So here's where things go wrong, right? We're in row 10. No. We're in row 0. Right? Let's row index here. Yeah, I just realized, I'm sorry, chat. I'm off screen here. Okay. Row index is 0. So let's step over this here. So the property index is going up. So it's 31 technically right now. Our column index is 10, but our row is 0, so we should be skipping over that logic. And we do. Our column index is not that, so we should be skipping over that logic. But actually, we do want to run this logic anytime we're on column 10, because my next move is going to be, the only time we don't want to run this is, I don't want to run on column 0 when I'm on column or row 0. So we have to open this up a little bit more. So if this is 10, always run this. We don't care. I might eat my words when we get to the bottom, but that's going to be another funky situation anyway. If we're on column 0, I don't want to do this when I'm at 0. And I'm on the top row, at least. The bottom row, we'll see. The bottom row is going to come out backwards. That's what's going to happen there. And then, boy, it would be cool if I could just like left to right or right to left the bottom row, and it magically would work. Let's see. Okay, I think that's going to help. Okay. And do it again. That doesn't really answer why we had a property without a value, or without a property ID, or whatever, a property object. But maybe this moves us ahead a little bit. I'm gonna run this, then I'm gonna go get a drink. Take a little break. I want to see if we hit this, right? Because I think we're good for the first run at this. And then it's when we get to this property here, we're on go to jail, right? The current property index is, it wants to be 31 because it hit this here. But we're actually going to take 20. The row index is 0 plus 1. 20 minus 1 is 19. That should be our next property index going into 0 on the next the next one. So then I need to evaluate this next. So let's try that. Let's come up here to and make sure we get the right. Current property, New York Ave. Cool. Are we here? We're not. We are in column 0. We're not in row 0. We're not in row 10. So our property is New York Ave. We're going to set that. And then our next starting position is going to be 20 plus 10 plus our row index plus 1. That would be 20, 30. Let's check something here. I think we have one more. I don't think we need to do the plus 1 there. If I could see my properties, that would be super cool. Hello. Oh, I'm debugging the. Never mind, debugging the browser. Let's get out of that. So this is going to throw us off by 1 here because our row index is 1. I think I want 31. I don't think go to jail is. I think go to 0, 10, 20. Yeah, this is going to give me 32, which is not going to be Pacific Avenue, or what is it again? Here, let me open my screenshot for like the 10th time. We want Pacific. I think we're going to end up with North Carolina. I think. Boop. Continue. Yep. We bounced ahead 1. So we're actually like kind of cruising down the right side of the board, 1 step ahead of where we need to be. I'm going to let this just kind of finish, do its thing. Or at least attempt to. Still didn't render anything because I think I still have probably have an error somewhere still. Yeah. Still run into that whole property is not a property thing. I think because we're just counting off. So we end up, if I'm, cannot read properties of undefined, I'm trying to pull a property out of the array at an index that doesn't exist because we're getting ahead of ourselves. So no worries. Let's, I'm going to take a quick break. Let you guys bask in the glory of the YCDTOSF website. Trying to figure out some scheduling changes that might be coming soon. My kids have school and after school activities, so my Wednesday nights are starting later, 8 o'clock, 8 to 10, which I think is an interesting time for me because I'm an old person. But Tuesday and Thursday are still a little bit up in the air. Still doing 4 to 6 for now, but those might be moving to later in the day or maybe earlier in the day. I don't know. Still kind of feeling out when the best times are for people to show up. So anyway, let's push pause, and I'm gonna go grab a drink. Be back in 2 minutes, and I feel like we're actually close on finishing this. We just have to kind of hit the, get to the end of things, and we'll figure this out. Be right back. And we're back. All right. So our first fix here is to take the extra incrementer off of this because we're already in the row that we need to do. We thought we need to do the +1 on. I'm opening a drink. Something is beating up my computer pretty bad here. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's the debugger, the browser debugger. Or maybe it's this giant Adobe Illustrator file I have open off to the side. No, that couldn't be it. Gotta be something else. I do think the debugger, the Chrome debugger, does a sufficient beatdown on things as well, though. Let's see, did I close my... Let me quit Illustrator here. There we go. See if that helps at all. Okay, we're back over here. We're back over here. I really do think we're close. I can feel it. I can smell it. I can smell this code coming together. I don't know what that means. Let's see. We have the same error anywhere here? I think what we're running into now is spaces don't have names. And so it's sad about rendering that for us. I think once we get this corrected, I think what's going to happen is this is all going to look okay, except for the last row is going to be backwards. Because we're going to still read it left to right, and it needs to really actually be right to left. And boy, if we could... Do you hear my dog? He's like, hey, you closed the door. I noticed you closed the door when you walked away for 12 seconds. Can you let me back in? Oh, okay. Here we go. He just wants to be by a human. I think that's... could be worse, right? Okay. Let's take this out. Let's take out... I'm just going to render the type because our space... our blanks don't have a name. What we're going to end up doing is saying, if type equals something, then render this, otherwise render something else. So that will be coming, and we'll probably change the type to something like if render space equals true, then show this, otherwise show the other one. Okay, let's see. Are we getting close? I hope we're getting close. Hey-o! Look at that. Look at that. Space, 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 space. Space, blank, 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 space. Where got everything but my bottom row. Well, that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need 11. So we get to here, and then we're not sure what to do. I think because, let's go look at our logic again. Oops. Let's check here. We're so close. We just got this last row to figure out. So if we're in row 10, I should say if we're in column 10, row 9, right, because if we're in row 9, well, the second to last row, not to make indexes and arrays too confusing, but if we're in row 9, our index is something different. it's 10. It's the starting property minus 10, right? And if it's the starting property minus 10, that's like the last, let's see. We're in row 9. We're ending column 10. We're about to go to our last row. And we need to all right, yeah. Okay. We can do this here, I think. We set the property. We normally do this, but if we're if row index is 9, special weird condition, right? Then our property index equals the starting position minus 10, right? So I'm going to go free parking down to jail just visiting, right? Let's check their indexes on those. Position 20, free parking. 20 minus 10 is jail. Yeah, that's where we're going to go to. Take us back 10. And that sets us up for the next. Meanwhile, we're at the end of that row. We're in the last column. We're starting our last row. And we're doing stuff here. Oh, this should have been. That was a goof on my part. If we're in the last row, this might be easier than I thought. I feel like we could just say this, right? If we're in the first row, we're counting up. If we're in the last row, we're counting down. Then we do a column evaluation. Well, that worked out nice, didn't it? I think we're good. I don't know. Let's see. We're trying to be good, but something is keeping us from hitting that last row. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm going to have to step through this to figure out what happens when we get to what would be boardwalk, right? That's boardwalk. But we're not doing anything funky here anymore. We should just be able to say, hey, if that's... Because when we get to, let's see, this is what I should... This is where I should break, right? Let's see if... let's see if it handles this. Did I actually refresh? Did I save and refresh? That didn't even look like updated code there. Yep, there we go. No, I lied. No, we did it. We did it. Space, 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 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Cool. I think that's a board. I think. Yes. I think we got everything accounted for. Now let's let's tweak this a little bit so that we can... I'm going to say render... I'm going to change this. Render space equals false. So we can do like an if else in the code below. So we'll do grid prop dot render space. This is true. And here it is also true. Yes, okay. So render space, save that, and come over here, and let's do if false, call dot render space. If we don't have an actual space, then we'll just write the word out. If we do have an actual space, let's put the name out here. And this should inch us closer to having the board that we want. So basically traded off a bunch of chaotic CSS for building a data structure, which I'm not going to lie, this was more complicated than I thought it was. We ended up having a little bit of serendipity in the process, but it was a little tricky, but let's see how we're looking now. If we're getting to good, I sure would love to turn off this debugger, because this browser debugger is choking my machine. Uh-oh. Now we're back to broken. We have an error here before? That's kind of strange because things were just looking pretty good here. Carolina, community chest, Pennsylvania, short line, chance. You know what? It's because we don't know how to break out of this. We don't know how to break out of this loop. I think that's the problem. Our next prop index is going to be 10. So we're at jail. Connecticut. Vermont. Chance. Oriental. Reading. Income. Baltic. Community chest. Mediterranean. Go. So this is the last property. We should be done. So now we're at column index. We're at go. We set that. We're trying to change the property index to something very, I think, pretty weird. Actually, no, we're going to say, hey, now go back to now do weird stuff again. And then our column index is 11. So I think we just need to say, well, row index is less than. Right, let me step in here. We push it. We update the row index. So now it's 11. So I think we just have to say, well, row index is less than 11. That's the only thing we can kind of rely on here. There we go. Now I think we got it. I think that was the problem. It was never ending. The only way for it to end was for it to have an error somewhere, because it would just keep going on for forever and ever. I think that's my theory. I'm sticking with it. Let's try this again. That's going to iterate for a really long time. Let's just see if we can get... Okay. I just deflated. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, these should not be... We shouldn't be hitting these. I thought. The row index increments here. What's going on? I can't... There we go. Okay. One more time. There's 10, right? We're at go now. So I'm at 10. Now I'm going to increment row index. Now it's 11. My row index is... I'm done. I should be done. This is my I'm at go. I've written it out to the current property. I've put the property I suppose I should push this down below here just to put it onto the list later, but I think it still references it. Yeah, the property is still go, so we're fine there. Excuse me. This should be done. We should not be going through this again. The row index is 11. I only want to run this when it's less than 11. I don't care. The column index is 0. Cool. I don't really care about that. Row index 11. Done. We're still falling down somewhere here. Because we're not rendering anything, unless I'm not referencing those. Unless I'm just being dumb. I'm being dumb. I can't type. Cold. If cold.render space, you're a dummy. Don't be a dummy, dummy. Okay, all right. Hopefully this fixes it. do not want to step through all of that again. I do not think we need to worry about the debugging. I think the problem was, yes, it was. All right. Look at that. Ugly. A little bit. But man, we got it. I mean, we got it. The data's here. It's going to be big. For sure. It's like unavoidable. The only problem with the Monopoly board is like so much of it is just wasted space because of the outside edge, you know. But I wanted to build it because we could. Then I think the question is, you know, for our game purposes, how much of the board do we really need to see as you move through it? I don't know the answer to that right now, but we can. You know, we got something going here for sure. A little more, you know, the logic is a little. You know, we kind of traded the layout logic for some data structure to iterate over. You know, there's some nuances here, but I think for, you know, 60 lines of code, okay, 70 lines of code that I can understand. I like that a lot better than some CSS that had me, you know, just chasing my tail to try and figure out what it was doing. We're not done here yet, but I think we've got a pretty good. We're doing okay, right? We're doing okay. We can add some dimensions to these spaces. Actually, fill them with something that would display something, like our card from before. The other thing we have to do is set up the rotation of these, which we already have the data. We just have to get our components to listen to it. I'm not too worried about that. We need to pass a few things. Maybe we can do a couple of things while we're kind of coming into a close here. The property board space. Look at all this madness here. I feel like I think there's a container on these. Yep, so the card is the container. That's what we're really going to give the dimensions to. And then we have all this other stuff that I think are all derived sizes. So here's what that's what we're going to write. And then everything else I think is a percentage size off of that. So we can really scale to whatever size we want. I'm not going to do any scaling with the transform stuff because that was just weird. But we will need to do a rotation on these. So that's some extra styling that we'll have to write out. I think the property board space has. Oh yeah, we're actually just writing the style in here. So I think we can take those parameters. All right, let's pass a API height, an API width, an API rotate. Yeah. We can default these, I think, to 0, 200, 250. Now it does already do some work for us in the, at least in this case, in the case of the width, or the width of the element. So we may not need this now because we're passing that in, but I think what would also maybe be smart is if we specify the, the height and width that we want to use on the board. That can be a property that we pass into it, and then the the um, the corners just use the height as their width, no matter what it is. If we made it 70 or 100 or something like that, we could. We could also consider maybe just you pass the height and it maintains the aspect ratio, because what's 20 divided or 200 divided by 250? Like 0.8, right? So it's an 80% ratio between the two. So that could maybe make things easier. I think the cards are always the same size, and we want to kind of honor the scale of the board. But anyway, we pass those in. The rotation we can kind of figure out. Just for fun, I'm going to try to make a real mess here. And let's try to pass this in instead of our just writing the name. So this is column, this is COL dot property now. All right, let's see what happens. Drum roll. I didn't say it would look good. Well, golly. It's not terrible. And it lays out the way it should. If I can set the fonts to be relative, like I think we use a rem instead of an M, or I don't know. Again, CSS ain't my strong suit, but I'll muddle through it. But the fact that it's just rendering the way that it, I mean, we got some dimensions to figure out here. There's nothing being applied to the spaces right now, so we'll fix that. But I think we're looking pretty good here. I'll take it. It's not as crazy, right? And maybe we can shrink to fit. If there was I don't even know if I want to do that. I was going to say, boy, if we could just scale it down using a transform, but I don't know. Those never seem to work out well for me. So what we could probably do is just pass, we pass the dimensions that we want each space to be. And if we want them half the size, make them half the size, and the text will be tiny, but it'll fit easily on the board. I feel like we got something accomplished here today. We rebuilt the board logic in a day, not too shabby. I'm going to do a quick poll. I don't think we've actually did anything outside of LWC here, but I'll pull this. We'll put it into the repository for this episode, and we'll pick up here where we left off. I think we're not actually too far off from from having this board look the way we need it to. We can manage the zoom, at our discretion. Maybe we can even make a zoom function that passes to the board and tells it how big it should be. We did that in the inefficient icon inventory, so there's probably some code to steal from that. And let's push this up. Let's get all of this in there. And we'll say, what are we? I think we're episode 17 today, if my math is right. And yeah. Let me just double check. What day is it? It is 17. episode 17. All right. I think that does it for today. A couple hours on the stream, built some stuff. It's a good day. And I will keep an eye out for maybe some schedule changes and the You Can't Digest recap on Friday, or Monday, I should say. Another quick recap on Friday with what we accomplished. And I'll see y'all on Tuesday. Back to the inefficient icon inventory.